Hello, little wormlings, and welcome to the Comfort Corner. For today's story, we have Winnie the Pooh, Chapter 3. The piglet lived in a very grand house in the middle of a beech tree, and the beech tree was in the middle of the forest, and the piglet lived in the middle of the house. Next to his house was a piece of broken board which had Trespassers W on it. When Christopher Robin asked the piglet what it meant, he said that it was his grandfather's name and it had been in the family for a very long time. Christopher Robin said, "You can't be called Trespassers W." And Piglet said you could, because his grandfather was, and it was short for Trespassers Will, which was short for Trespassers William. And his grandfather had two names in case he lost one. Trespassers, after an uncle, and William, after Trespassers. "I've got two names," said Christopher Robin carelessly. "Well, there you are, that proves it," said Piglet. One fine winter's day, when Piglet was brushing away the snow in front of his house, he happened to look up, and there was Winnie the Pooh. Pooh was walking around and around in a circle, thinking of something else, and when Piglet called to him, he just went on walking. "Hello," said Piglet. "What are you doing?" "Hunting," said Pooh. "Hunting what?" "Tracking something," said Winnie the Pooh very mysteriously. "Tracking what?" Piglet said, coming closer. "Well, that's just what I asked myself. I asked myself, what? What do you think that you'll answer?" "Well, I shall have to wait until I catch up with it," said Winnie the Pooh. "Now, look there." He pointed to the ground in front of him. "What do you see there?" "Tracks," said Piglet. "Paw marks." He gave a little squeak of excitement. "Oh, Pooh, do you think it's a woozle?" "It may be," said Pooh. "Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. You never can tell with paw marks." With these few words, he went on tracking, and Piglet, after watching him for a minute or two, ran after him. Winnie the Pooh had come to a sudden stop, and he was bending over and looking at the tracks in a puzzled sort of way. "What's the matter?" said Piglet. "Oh, it's a very funny thing," said the bear. "But there seem to be two animals now. This whatever it was has been joined by another. Whatever it is, and the two of them are now proceeding in company. Would you mind coming with me, Piglet, in case they turn out to be hostile animals?" Piglet then scratched his ear in a nice sort of way, and he said that he had nothing to do until Friday and would be delighted to come along in case it really was a woozle. "You mean in case it really is two woozles," said Winnie the Pooh, and Piglet said that anyhow he had nothing to do until Friday. So off they went together. There was a small spiny of larch trees just here, and it seemed as if two woozles, if that's what they were, had been going around this spiny. So round and round went Pooh and Piglet after them. Piglet passing the time by telling Pooh that his grandfather Trespassers W had done to remove stiffness after tracking, and how his grandfather Trespassers W had suffered in his later years from shortness of breath and other matters of interest. Pooh went on wondering what a grandfather was like, and if perhaps this was two grandfathers they were after now, and, if so, whether he would be allowed to take one home and keep it, and what Christopher Robin would say if he did. And the tracks went on and on in front of them. Suddenly, Winnie the Pooh stopped, and he pointed excitedly out in front of him. Look there!" "What?" Piglet said with a jump. And then, to show that he hadn't been frightened, he jumped up and down once or twice more in an exercising sort of way. "The tracks! Look at there at the tracks! A third animal has joined the other two." "Pooh!" cried Piglet. "Do you think it could be another woozle?" "No," said Pooh, "because it makes different marks. Either it's two woozles and one, as it might be a Whizzle, a 2, or it might be Whizzles and 1, and if so, it's a Woozle. Let us continue to follow them." So they went on, feeling just a little anxious now, in case the 3 animals in front of them were of hostile intent. And Piglet wished very much that his grandfather T.W. were here, instead of elsewhere, and Pooh thought how nice it would be if they were to meet Christopher Robin suddenly, but quite accidentally, and only because he liked Christopher Robin so much. And then, all of a sudden, Winnie the Pooh stopped again, and he licked the tip of his nose in a cooling manner, for he was feeling more hot and anxious than ever before. There were now 4 tracks of animals in front of them. "Do you see, Piglet? Look at the tracks. 3, as it were, Woozles, and 1, as it was, Whizzle, and another Woozle has joined them." And so it seemed to be. There were the tracks crossing over each other here and there, getting muddled up over there, but quite plainly every now and then the tracks of 4 set of paws. "I think," said Piglet, when he had licked the tip of his nose too, and brought forth very little comfort, "I think that I have just remembered something. And I have just remembered something that I forgot to do yesterday and shan't be able to do tomorrow. I suppose I really ought to go back and do it now." "Well, do it this afternoon, and I'll come with you," said Pooh.
"Oh, it isn't the sort of thing you can do in the afternoon,"
Piglet said very quickly.
It's a very particular morning thing and it has to be done in the morning and if possible between the hours of, what would you say the time was now?"
"About 12, said Winnie the Pooh, looking at the sun.
Between, as I was saying, the hours of 12 and 12:05. So really, dear old Pooh, if you'll excuse me, what's that?"
Pooh looked up at the sky, and then, as he heard the whistle again, he looked up to the branches of a big oak tree, and he saw a friend of his. "Oh, it's Christopher Robin," he said.
Then you'll be all right," said Piglet. "You'll be quite safe with him. Goodbye."
And he trotted off home as quickly as he could, very glad to be out of danger all again. Christopher Robin came slowly down from his tree. "Silly old bear," he said, "what were you doing? First you went round the spiny twice by yourself, then Piglet ran after you, and you went around and around again together, and then you were going around a 4th time." "Wait a minute," said Winnie the Pooh, holding up his paw. He sat down and he thought, in the most thinkful way he could think. He fitted his paw into one of the tracks, then he stood up and scratched his nose twice. "Yes," said Winnie the Pooh, "I see it now. I have been foolish and deluded," he said. "I am a bear of no brain at all." "Oh, you're the best bear in the world," said Christopher Robin soothingly. "Am I?" said Pooh hopefully, and then he brightened up suddenly. "Anyhow, it's nearly luncheon time." And so he went home to have some lunch. End of chapter 3. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much for stopping by for chapter 3. I hope to see you again next time for chapter 4.